So, I'm ready to reassemble this locomotive. I've taken the liberty of applying satin black spray paint to the frame, even though most of it will be covered by the shell, but I wanted to give this old girl a very nice treatment. I've also remounted the light bracket because I have plans for that, and I used sheer force of will plus a little crazy glue to get this thing to cooperate, because once it becomes unmounted from the frame, it's a little bit difficult to reunite it to the frame. And rather than remount the original gray flywheel motor, I am installing instead a gold motor. This is one of the long-time members of my collection, one of the first members of my collection. So it's only fair to give her the royal treatment. And rather than using the white motor mounting pads, I'm using the black motor mount pads. This isn't anything that you could use instead of the white mounting pads, unless you have the mounting screw. And they come in a pack of 24, and you could get them online. You could try your local hobby store, but there's no guarantee. Also, as a footnote, when I spray painted the frame, I made sure to cover up this part, because without this you can't run the motor. So let's get this motor mounted, test it, and then we could take care of the gear towers. Now, you're wondering why I'm using an X-Acto knife. The mounting holes are just a little too tight for the screws. The screws were a little hesitant, so I'm just making one or two rotations in the new mounting pads before I seat the motor into the frame, like so. And just gonna take mounting screw, going to, one moment. So, just had to apply additional torque using a different set of screwdrivers. But we have the motors securely mounted to the frame. So we're going to test the motor, even though I already have tested the motor, but this motor's in a new home now. So we've got negative to the frame, positive to the top motor clip, and, well, I'm just going to flip this guy around so like so, and this is running at 40% power. If not slightly less, it looks like it's at 30. Let's see if I can get it down closer to the 20s. And running like a thoroughbred, this motor is. So, let's get the rest of this girl put back together. I'm going to take the front motor mount, the front gear tower, and going to take the rear gear tower, put that over here. Now, how do I know this is oriented correctly? Because the locomotive is facing me. This is the front of the locomotive. This is the cab end. This is the high hood end of the locomotive. The elbows of the locomotive are facing me. If they're facing me, then these gear towers are oriented and installed correctly. Now, you as the viewer of this video, we have the commutator, the light bracket. This is the cab end of the locomotive. This is dog hair on the motor. This is the high hood end of the locomotive. The elbow is facing you here. The elbow is facing you here. This is correct orientation of the gear towers. And for the cab end of the locomotive, of this particular locomotive, here's the commutator. So right now we're on the right track. So we are going to take our gear worms, which are clean. We are going to apply a little Label 107 right over here, so that the thrust washer behind this bolt gets some. We're going to take the spline and the spline has a something of a protrusion in the shaft, and you want to seat the spline into this part here where it seats firmly, where the protrusion seats firmly. We're going to insert this other end. This end goes into the flywheel, and now I am going to insert the gear worm on the cab end, and the cab end is facing this way, and I am going to seat the gear worm into the front flywheel and then slowly extend this gear worm so that it seats into, and I'm going to reorient the screwdriver to the slotted end, because we want to orient these bolts seated into the gear tower. Takes a little patience, but eventually you will get this in, seated correctly. Going to take a small dab of red lithium right into the gear. I'm going to turn the flywheel ever so carefully so that it meshes, so that this gear worm meshes with the gears in the tower. It is gonna come up slightly as you turn the flywheel, but just seat it back down. And I'm going to take this cover. That's a very nice snap sound. That's what you want. I'm gonna switch cameras so that you could see this again up close. Right, so let's do the rear gear tower. We're going to take some Labelle 107, put it in the thrust washer over here, put the bolt back on, apply a little Labelle right over here, and we are going to snap the worm like so. Going to carefully extend the spline so that we are right at the gear tower, and just going to take the slotted screwdriver patience. Right. It's in. Just going to dab a little red lithium. We're going to turn this flywheel Don't be startled if, as you're turning the flywheel, that the locomotive starts to move. It means everything is meshing perfectly. And snappity snap. That's what we want. That's what we need. We're going to take the Labelle a little over here, and a little over here. And we're golden. We are good as gold. Now, I'm going to, instead of using this ratty clip, and again, I have no one else to blame but myself, we're going to solder a wire from each gear tower to the top motor clip. And it's always good that if you do this, that you solder a wire from from each gear tower to the top clip. Remove the top clip so that you can easily solder the wire. So I'm going to see how everything works before I solder the wire. I'm going to plug in my soldering gun. Let that get ready. I'm gonna get my flex ready. I'm gonna get some wires ready. But let's see how we do with an initial test.